people you should possibly thank rather than ridicule. Now, before I begin this little presentation, certainly there are radical and extreme situations that may cause alarm in which the structure which is set up in society is correct in deeming these people as radicals and extremists themselves, which really have no part within society or the goals of society. And in that way, it is good that the measures of society in which we live operates and functions on a level which attempts to weed these people out. But like with a lot of things, I usually like to pose questions on the other side and possibly see ways in which the influence of things coming from another direction may have some sense of, positive effect on what it is that a lot of people only see one certain aspect to. So to begin this little video clip, the first people that you should thank are idiots. If you believe yourself to be smart, then you should thank anybody you believe to be an idiot. Because if everybody was smart, would anybody be smart? So if you're publicly ridiculing somebody on their intellect, then maybe you should thank them for being an idiot, because without them being an idiot, then in a sense, would you be able to define yourself as being smart? So in that sense, what I'm practically saying is that if everybody was smart, the normal intellect would be smart, and so smart itself would be seen as average. And in no way could you yourself define yourself as smarter than the average individual, because once everybody's on the same level and playing field, then in no way is there a means for separation of intellect to occur. So in that sense, maybe you should be thanking anybody that you see to be an idiot rather than ridiculing them for what you believe to be an inadequacy of intellect. The second type of people are criminals. Now, like I said before, this is merely looking at the whole broad spectrum of things. And of course you can point out and you can say, well, look at this certain situation, look at this circumstance, and yeah, we can do that all day about everything in life. But the whole point of this exercise is to bypass a lot of those things and look at possible benefits, which in a lot of ways may outweigh those specific and in a lot of cases statistically insignificant figures. So thank criminals. Now you might say, why would you ever want to thank criminals? Well, criminals in a lot of ways are what actually hold up your individuality as a citizen when wherever it is that you find yourself. Criminals are the ones who really have to try and bypass the laws. They have to find ways and think around society's structured system so they can get away with what it is that they're trying to do. It's like somebody playing a board game and they're trying to cheat, but in a lot of ways it allows you to retain your Bill of Rights, so to speak, as an individual and as a human being. Because in a lot of ways, the way that society gets set up, it actually diminishes a lot of those values which a lot of people hold very dear. And this certain circumstance is actually what gives the nation of America itself a lot of power and control over a lot of other states and nations. And now you might say, why is that? Well, let's look at a certain period of time in the history of America. The history of America is very centered and oriented and was pretty much founded upon Judeo-Christian values. Now, the higher you build a mountain, and this mountain is represented by religious and moral and ethical values, the deeper and the steeper of a shadow that it will cast beneath it. And so this nation was set up upon very, very strict moral and ethical values and conditions. And as these people exercised a lot of these, religious values into the way in which their government was organized and structured, what it did is it creates this almost sense of we want to go against what is morally accepted as being a good individual within society. Tell people not to drink. What are they going to do? They're going to go buy alcohol. Tell people that, not to have premarital sex. Well, then everybody's, out flirting with each other the next day. And so having such a steep, profound mountain actually, in a lot of ways, caused a very, very, very underground and a very proficient criminal society within the nation of America. And this was no more, profoundly seen than during the times of the Prohibition era, when mafia ramparts, gallivanting through the nation. And in a lot of ways, these organizations themselves had a lot more power and sway than really the prominent political figures with good intentions. And they found ways to manipulate the system and ways to conceal a lot of activities which would have otherwise been seen as immoral or unethical. And so, thank criminals, because in a lot of ways, it's a balance and checks system which allows you to retain a lot of your individual rights as a human being. Now, that being said, again, I'm not necessarily condemning the societal hierarchy in which we live within, and the fact that a community and a social structure needs some sense of moral obligation for the group itself rather than an individual, but it's almost like a balance and check system where the group regulates the individual, but then these individuals come along who wish to partake in activities not seen or condoned as healthy behavior by the group, and so they figure out ways to participate in this behavior, which in a lot of ways is a balance and checks, but it allows you to retain a lot of your individual rights as a human. Now, let's look at the third instance, people that you should thank rather than ridicule. Crazy people and crazy individuals. A lot of zeitgeists or paradigm shifts are due to people who don't feel like they necessarily fit into the norm of society. And what is the norm of society anyways? If we look at the cultural history of mankind through recorded history, what the norm is changes with the beliefs of the people. So in reality, there really is no actual normal belief system. The normal belief system is merely the belief system of the majority at the time. And so when one person feels as though they don't necessarily belong or agree with the belief system, they're seen as a crazy individual because they're participating in actions and behaviors which, seen by the group as a whole, is disruptive or, in other words, inappropriate action or behavior. But these people who don't really care for the fact that they'll be ridiculed by society participate in this behavior anyways. And future generations may thank this person because they say, wow, why were we participating in that behavior? But all it took was what some people deemed as a crazy individual to merely overthrow the belief system which was set in place during their time. And so, always look for the other side of things and possible ways in which it could, outweigh the negative aspects that it is given. But then, of course, realize that things are the way they are for a specific reason. And they are the way they are because that's the way that it works. And it's almost like a balance and check system for itself. So, don't forget about the idiots, don't forget about the criminals, and don't forget about the crazies. In a lot of ways, they add salt to the flavor of life. And so, if everybody just went around and everything was the exact same all the time, then literally there would be no room or experience for something out of the ordinary. And of course, there are extreme and radical things which fall into condoning a lot of these individuals. But again, is that merely due to my societal conditioning in which I grew up in? Or is it really that they should be condoned for the activities that they participate in? Something I'll never know because of the environment which I was brought up in. So yeah, I'm falling into my own categorical hierarchy of psychology and the hierarchy of society itself. Go figure. Well, thanks for watching this video, and you know, uh, don't do anything illegal, and don't be an idiot. Be smart, research, and gain knowledge, and try not to be too crazy. Otherwise, it might land you in some trouble. Peace.